Hello, come on in, come on in. We have a lot of new updates today. Wow. Nancy Grace had Steve Fisher on. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but I have some stuff to show you that she didn't get to in her awesome interview, which was absolutely great. We're going to go through the highlights of it, but I have some stuff to show you. Is there a second crime scene on Doheny? We're gonna talk about that. We're also going to talk about the Tesla around the corner from the mansion with Celeste inside. We're talking about proof that David and Celeste were in a second home. So is there a second crime scene that law enforcement either has served a search warrant on and we just didn't hear about it, or hasn't? We're also going to talk about Neo. Was he at Coachella? And what's really up with this Hello Kitty shirt? We're going to look at that. And we're going to also talk about David's proclivities. What was David really into? Well, he tells us, doesn't he? So come on in. Tell me where you're from. You can tell me what city, what state, what country, whatever you feel comfortable sharing. Please come in. Thank you for coming by to spend a little bit of time with me. And if you haven't subscribed, it's free. It's free. Subscribing is free. Help me overcome the YouTube algorithm by subscribing and giving this video a thumbs up. Let me turn the volume up on this a little bit. I might need it louder than this. So everyone in this video is innocent until proven guilty. No one has been charged with a crime. Everything I'm sharing is my opinion, and this video is for adults only. Viewer discretion is advised. So I want to begin with the Nancy Grace interview. We're not going to run through the whole thing. I'm going to just show you 5 highlights from the interview, what I thought was the most compelling. And then we're going to a second property together, a second potential crime scene together right after that. So please stay with me. But let's pull this up. She did a great job on her interview last night, I thought. She is the queen of true crime. She is the original true crime content creator. And she had Steve Fisher on, and boy, whoo! It was like almost painful to watch Steve go through this, almost. But he did a great job too. Let's get into it. So Nancy Grace begins the interview with PI Steve Fisher. This is the private investigator that was hired by the mansion owner. And they are talking about the Tesla moving into its final spot on Bluebird Avenue on July 29th. And guess where David was on July 30th? I'm going to show you, and I'm going to prove it to you in just a second. So please stay with me. So he says that this was around 11 a.m., 11-ish in the morning.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do you know where it was parked before that?
That I don't know, because from the house that it was taken from is a little bit down the hill, but on the same street that the rental house is on.
Okay, so he's being very precise here. So basically what happened was the Tesla came up a little bit of a hill, up of a little bit of an incline, and it came into view of the security camera. And we found out where Steve Fisher got the security footage from. Guess what? It's from a neighbor's security camera. So good job to Steve Fisher for finding that. It comes up, and so it comes into the camera view. So he can't say with 100% certainty that it came from the mansion, but it does come from the direction of the mansion. Let's listen.
Okay, so you're telling me the Tesla that held Celeste's decomposing body was ultimately left on the same street where he was living?
It looked like it was coming from the rental house. I can't say for sure, but there's only a few houses on that street. I guess that's like an off street. And it came down that road and was turning onto where you go up the Bluebird there, where it was left.
Okay. Are you telling me, I'm having to interpret everything you're saying, Steve. You're talking private investigator talk.
I love Nancy. She is pushing him. She tries everything to try to get him to say who is behind the wheel of this Tesla. But he does say we. He doesn't say he doesn't say she, but he does use the word we and they throughout this interview. And I think that's worth noting. And we talked about this during the other live stream, and we are going to go over to the second property, a potential second crime scene next. And we're also I'm going to show you proof that David was on tour on July 30th too. He was there. Was Neo with him? In just a second, so please stay with
Are
me.
you telling me on a video you can see the Tesla coming from the direction of his house?
Yeah, so the road is curved, and so the house that captured that is kind of at the base of the curve. So you can't see, you can see it coming down the road. You can't see exactly where it started, and you can't see the driveway of the rental house. It stops right before that.
Okay, so the car comes around the curve. He has a security camera, obviously from one of the mansions in the area, one of the other homes in the area. It picks up the Tesla. The Tesla has the window 3/4 of the way down, so he's able to clearly see who's driving the car, but he keeps using the word they and we. And now let's go to Nancy Grace wants to know from Steve Fisher where the Tesla was parked prior to being moved to its final location. Let's go there next.
Exactly where it started, and you can't see the driveway of the rental house. It stops right before that. The camera angle does.
Wow. Okay. Joining me right now, don't move, Steve Fisher.
Okay, so I'm going to skip over the other guests. As compelling as they were all great. But and I might just do a reaction to Nancy Grace's video itself, but I want to just skip over here to just the highlights that really point in. So next up is Katie Forster. She's a journalist with the U.S. Sun. She's bringing it. And Nancy asks her about whether or not David ever reported the Tesla missing. And Katie brings it. She points out that David not only didn't report that the Tesla was missing, but he didn't report that Celeste was missing. So if he wants to claim later that he was mentoring Celeste or he was helping her or something like that, he never reported her missing.
Us tonight. And B, did D4VD, David Anthony Burke, ever report his Tesla missing?
That is the main thing that I found very interesting. And also not just the Tesla, but, you know, if he was in a relationship with Celeste and he hadn't heard from her in months, weeks, you know, obviously she was a teen runaway, but he never reported that either. I think it is very interesting, you know, if you were this close to this girl, whether she was a friend, whether she was a partner, you think that he would be shouting from the rooftops, you know, where is she?
Boom. Where is she? And not a peep. So the whole concept that he's going to be able to say somehow that he was mentoring her and he doesn't know what happened to her. Okay, then why didn't you report her missing? Let's jump back to the next. Let's go forward to the next part. Nancy Grace asks Steve Fisher if he's seen any camera footage of the Tesla in the area on Bluebird before July 29th, when he found the camera footage of they moving that Tesla into its final position before it was impounded and towed on July 29th. It was moved, and of course it was impounded and towed just a few days later.
Sure. Fisher, I didn't forget about you. Steve Fisher is a very high-profile private investigator who is investigating another missing persons case and somehow landed in the middle of the Celeste investigation. So far I've gotten out of you tonight that the Tesla, ultimately with Celeste's body in it, was moved to the last location, July 29, 11 a.m. in a trash condition, like it had been out in the elements, driving through the desert or mud bugging, right?
Yeah, it is in horrible condition. Same condition that you see it in the photos.
You also told me that
So there it is. The car is found in this dent in the car, right? That a lot of you guys have pointed
saw
out.
video of the car coming around the curve from the direction of Burke's mansion and parking. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
That's correct.
What day did you see that?
It was on July 29th.
Steve Fisher, did you see?
And if you go back a second, you can see the Christmas tree. Hold on. Let me just show you this.
Of the car coming around the curve from the direction of Burke's mansion and parking. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
That's correct.
What day did you see that?
It was on July 29th.
Okay, there's the Christmas tree air freshener right there. So there you go.
Steve Fisher, Did you see any camera video of any nature that showed the Tesla parked in that area prior to July 29?
I have seen the images that I obtained from the Department of Transportation on the day it was ticketed and towed, which was September 5th. And then I have seen a video that shows it in May of 2025, very clean, but actually parked on that Bluebird Street, that one where it was ultimately towed from, but it was clean at that time.
Okay, so it sounds like it got the car was sitting in the same place. So I believe there was a part 2 to this. I think there was a part 1 was going to be to park it there, and part 2 would have been reporting it missing or stolen, trying to get it impounded, parking it there all dirty with a dent in it. But in a moment, we're going to look at this house on Doheny that's linked to David and Celeste. This is a very troubling and damning detail for David, in my opinion. It's going to make him look even worse, but let's put a pin in this. I just want to go through a couple of more of the highlights. So Nancy goes back to Steve Fisher, and I assume that it was July 29th at 11 a.m. ish. And he saw a person get out of the Tesla, and Steve says, no, he didn't see anybody getting out of the Tesla. Let's jump forward. Oh, I just want to kind of show you where we've talked a lot about the house, and I've always told you that it was 2 turns. One, I was picturing it this way too, but it isn't. It's 1 turn. So a left turn and then a right turn. And this is where the car was ultimately found. So just a left turn and then a right turn. And the car was found on Bluebird. So I thought that was really helpful too, just to have a map to kind of show where it is. All right, so let's go forward to a little bit further. If you would like me to do a reaction video just to this, I will. But I want to jump forward to I'm just going through the highlights of it. So Nancy goes back to Steve Fisher, and she, asks him, did he see somebody getting out of the Tesla?
On August the 4th at the D4VD David Burke concert. So I'm trying to narrow down the timeline, Fisher. That's what I'm doing here. Now, I'd like to understand, you saw a person emerge from the Tesla. I assume that was July 29 at 11 a.m. You saw a person get out of the Tesla.
No, I didn't see them get out of the Tesla. They drove by when they drove by the camera in the Tesla, I could tell who it was, but then they're too far out of range, when they hit the parking spot. So I can identify the person from when they drove within 4 or 5 feet of the camera.
Wow. Okay, so he knows who it is. Okay, so let's keep going. So he didn't see them get out, but he could identify the person. The window was rolled down. And let's go to the next one. Nancy has a demonstration from a female in the front trunk of the Tesla.
In the trunk, the front. The Tesla has a trunk in the front. I think I know why they roll down the window, Dr. Krause.
Yeah, so there's going to be marked decomposition. The body's in the trunk.
Trigger warning here, guys.
Or the frunk, or whatever you call the thing, from sometime in July to all the way in December. So there's going to be green discoloration, blood.
I'm just going to skip over this little part. It's very, very hard to listen to. It's really sad. I want to go through this demonstration, though, because he has his daughter get in the trunk.
Fisher, clearly able to smell the decomposition.
So I'm not going to, I don't want to talk about that too much. But this is they actually have a girl get in the trunk to just show how tight that front trunk is. So she is the same age that Celeste would have been. She was 14. This girl is 14 years old. So let's go now to the final little section that I'm going to play for you. And if you want me to do a reaction to the whole thing, let me know. 33 minutes in, Nancy Grace asked Steve Fisher how long the Tesla was parked before David left on his tour.
AKA D4VD.
Let's listen in.
David embarked upon to Steve Fisher, the private investigator who has amassed home security surveillance, ring camera, you name it, and has identified the last time the Tesla was moved with Celeste's body in it, we believe, was July 29 around 11 a.m. He also clearly saw the face of the driver, which he is not divulging. Let me ask you about the timeline, Steve Fisher. How long was the Tesla parked on the street for the last time before Burke left for his tour?
From the time it was moved to that last spot, which is on Bluebird. So on July 29th, when I saw it, that was like 11 in the morning. Later that evening, they begin the tour, and they
So is it David and Neo?
actually leave that evening for San Francisco for the first show.
So apparently, Steve Fisher, in that neighborhood, when you leave, it's a pretty nice neighborhood. The mansions are worth millions of dollars. When you leave a filthy, disgusting car, or any car, parked on the street in front of one of those houses, that homeowner gets very irritated to have a nasty car or a junk car sitting in front of their lot, right? Their multi-million-dollar mansion. So you can't leave a car abandoned for very long or it's going to get towed. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I talked to the person who actually called it in, and that's exactly why it's not so much how long it was left there, it's the condition it was left in, and they felt it was abandoned because of the body damage and it was accumulating dirt. If the car had been clean, it probably would not have been called in, but they felt that it was abandoned, and that's when they called Department of Transportation.
And I think that was the point, don't you? Let me know. Let's do a poll. Do you think that the car was left in this condition intentionally so that it would be towed? Was that part one of the plan? And then part two would be report the car missing or stolen after the car was crushed? Was that going to be part two? And then we get down to one more like little disturbing piece. So trigger warning here. Nancy Grace talks about what they found in the David mansion after the LAPD conducted their search warrant. And I Googled it last night, farm implements, and started looking up like farm implements and some other search key terms like doing.
That happened, Dr. Krause?
So they can disassemble the bathroom sinks, as you were saying, or the kitchen sinks.
Kitchen sinks, utility sinks, laundry room sinks, that would take a while. We know, we were told anyway, that the drains were searched. How does that happen, Dr. Krause?
So they can disassemble the bathroom sinks, as you were saying, or the kitchen sinks, pulling out the piping, and then they can pull out the drain plugs in the bathtubs or showers and look down in them with flashlights and things of that nature. Usually good investigators can be very efficient and quick at doing these things, so it probably didn't take them a lot of time.
Okay, and then the final piece is that Steve Fisher reveals that there were, quote, farm implements found in David Burke's mansion. And so we don't know what they are yet, but it sounds like whatever it is, it's pretty gruesome. So let's leave it there. I will link this for you if you want to watch the whole thing, but I want to dig into some other items today because the title of this video is Nancy Grace did not show you this. So I want to show you guys some stuff that Nancy Grace did not show you. So this is David with Neo, but I want to go through. This is the house on Doheny. This is the second location. And let me just see of this particular house. Now it is, I do believe, and I'm going to show you proof that David and Celeste, we do have photos of them in this house. It's not downtown LA. It's actually the border of Beverly Hills and West Hollywood, just down the street from Sunset Drive. But was Celeste staying at this West Hollywood residence instead of at the mansion? Because David's black 2023 Tesla may have been parked at this property in March of this year. And we're also going to look at when this home was taken off the market, when it was rented, and then when it was put back on the market, because I think that's significant too. So the listing was updated, and we're going to go through that first, but I just want to show you. Okay, so this is the house, the exterior. And then this is another shot of the house. And then this is the property. And then this is the kitchen, and this is significant. Let me move myself down here a little bit. Let's see. This is significant because you can see, I want you to look here, the blue tile, okay, behind the cabinets, the white cabinets, the stove with the hood over it, okay? So just look at this kitchen from this property, and then I want you to look at this screenshot of David and Celeste together in this, and you can see, let me move myself over this way. You can see that the white cabinets, you can see the blue tile. If you look, David's hair is like this. If you look from when you're facing the screen, if you look to your left, you should be able to see the hood of the stove and David's hair, and then you should be able to see the blue tile between the hood and the stove and the stove, right? Same exact blue tile that I just showed you a second ago in this shot with the head. So this is the house, and you can see the cabinets there with the window. Okay, let's look at David and Celeste. You can see that window with the shades rolled down. See the shades behind David and Celeste? And then look at this picture. You can see, let me move myself over again. You can see the shades down in this picture too. So I believe that David and Celeste were at this property. The other evidence that we have that they were together at this property is this photo. Now take a look at the artwork in the bathroom. This is the same property on Doheny Drive, not downtown LA, but certainly they were at this house together. And if you look in the back of this photo, look at that. It's the same artwork. Look at the ocean. Look at the three pictures. It's three different pictures with an ocean view. And then let's go back to this one. Three pictures with an ocean view. They have the hangers hanging there, but that's probably because, it's been re-rented. And there it is, three pictures with the ocean view. So that's proof that they were at this second location, in my opinion, allegedly. So I think that if you, what's even just more disturbing is we know that the last known picture of Celeste was taken on January 2nd of 2025. Now, I've got a lot of questions about this, and Steve Fisher did clarify that he misspoke when he said July 2nd. That was a misspeak. He said it is January 2nd. That's the last photo that he's been able to find of Celeste. It doesn't mean there couldn't be something else out there, but that's the last one that we know about. Okay, so now let's look at this together. Okay. So if you look at this, this is the property listing on the map. Okay. And then if you look at this one, okay, look at the house. It's listed here, July 26th of 2022. It's closed. It's rented. When does it come back on the market again? March 7th of 2025, you guys. The house is re-rented, or I'm sorry, the house is available again for renting. March 2nd of 2025. So I do think that this date is really significant. I do think this is really compelling. And I think that it, gives us a better idea of the timeline. So I believe that David was giving up this rental property. Where was Celeste? At the end of February, March, April, May, June, until July, until August, and then September 8th, when she was found in the trunk of the car. Where was she for all of those months? Well, I think we get a little bit of a picture of the timeline, because this house was rented in July of 2022. It's closed. And then it's relisted in March 7th of 2025. So I do think that that is significant, and that, along with the proof, if you're just joining me, back it up. You'll want to see the proof that I did prove that he was at this, So I do think that David absolutely, so I took this date. Oh, let me just go tell you this too. So I took this date. Let me see if I have it, of when the house was relisted. And I backed it up 55 days, and it ended the first week of March, which is exactly when the house is relisted, the first week of March. So I do think, and that's when we first find out that the house is available. So I do think that this is where Celeste was. I believe that this is where she and David were at some point in the relationship. I shouldn't call it a relationship, but you know what I mean, because she couldn't consent. She was only 13, 14 years old. So I do believe that David, in my opinion, hated women and girls. Celeste was beginning to mature from being a child into a teenager, and I think that he would have come to despise her simply because she was growing up. And I believe that for Celeste, she did love David, but I believe for David, that this was all about domination and control for David, right? This was all about domination and control, in my opinion, allegedly. So David begins selling these bloody t-shirts online. Guess when? Remember, the mansion goes up March 7th, back up for rent. He starts selling these online in February of 2025. He sold this controversial merchandise through his official site until mid-September. So after she's found, does he take it down? No. So let's just go through key timeline details. February 25th, he first posts on Instagram about these shirts, writing limited edition, Itami withered cover vinyl out, and custom bloody shirts. September 25th, the shirt merchandise was quietly removed from his website around September 19th. So not right away, which would have been like maybe the decent thing to do. But it coincided with the cancellation of his tour's final leg. And then September and October of 2025, several news outlets reported on the removal of the merchandise and the imagery in his music videos following the discovery of the Tesla. Okay. So let's talk, and my source on that is TMZ on the timing. So let's talk about some of the weird things about Neo. I just want to dig into this a little bit. So somebody posted an Instagram photo. I'm actually quoting somebody else here. This is somebody else's quote that I found. So quote, somebody posted an Instagram photo of Neo and David standing in front of a mirror. The picture was taken on the first day of David's Withered tour. At first, this is somebody else writing this on Reddit, not me. At first, I didn't think much of it, but then I noticed that D4VD's hoodie had something written on it. It was hard to read in the mirror photo, so I checked the pictures from his performance that same day. That's when I saw the text clearly. So I blew it up. There's him performing. Okay. What does it say on his Hello Kitty shirt? So this is not me writing this. This is a quote I took from Reddit. I saw the text clearly, and the hoodie says, quote, Divine Celestial. Divine Celestial. And the writer says, I don't think it's a coincidence at all. The name Celeste literally means heavenly and celestial. And while the word divine doesn't directly mean celeste, it's often associated with things that are sacred and heavenly, carrying a very similar meaning thematically. And I've been searching to see, if there's a clothing brand that sells hoodies like that, but he said, he or she wrote, it wasn't possible. So they're wondering, this person, if David custom made this shirt himself. So he says, the writer says, quote, I do believe this is intentional and the message aligns with Celeste's name. None of this feels like a coincidental fashion. I've watched all of the withered short vlogs that David posted on YouTube. Not only did he wear the Hello Kitty hoodie during the first show, but he also wore the Hello Kitty beanie. And there were a few moments on the second day where he wore the hoodie again, but not on stage, you guys. So a few more details about this first show. And the very first show is July 30th. And we're going to talk about this too, the symbolism of this image in just a second. But I just want to show you the receipts. Okay, this is the very first day of his show. You can say, so this was like some kind of like a pre-show that he did, maybe like a practice dry run. But you can see here, let me take the banner down. You can see here that it is July the 30th that he is sitting in the back of this car. And it says D4VD tour starts today, baby, I'm getting. You can read it. And you can see the date here is circled right here. At the bottom of your screen. So I'm just wanted to put that up. That does show that it is July 30th. I had some people say, no, his tour didn't start till later. And I'm just saying, yeah, but there was some type of a pre-show. He did leave town when he said, and we're going to go through all of these. So this is the photo that says that is the Withered show was eerily timed. And it does seem like he is clearly referencing Celeste. Now, Steve Fisher obtained the July 29th surveillance footage showing the last time that the Tesla was driven, just one day before David's tour began. And we learned from the Nancy Grace show that they got on a bus later that night. So the car was driven around 11 a.m. ish and parked onto Bluebird Avenue. And then they got on a bus and headed out. And the very next day, we have David talking about his July 30th tour in this with this photo, talking about how his date to this whole thing started. Okay, so there's the receipts on that. All right, let's keep going though, because there's a lot to unpack. So now I want to talk about David posted this. This is a post on Celeste's birthday. So let's move on from the shirt, the Hello Kitty shirt, which is really disturbing. I want to just go into, okay, so David posts this. Let me take the banner down. So David posts this, 2 pictures of himself here. And he posts this on Celeste's birthday, just one day before she's found in the trunk of his Tesla. So he posts this on September the 7th, and Celeste was found in the trunk of the Tesla on September 8th. So he thinks he's being very cryptic, right? He said he chased a crow looking at the trees. That's what the caption says, right? Chased a crow looking at the trees. You can see it above the picture here. So if you look above the picture of him with the hoodie, you can see he's got that as his caption. You can see Neil liked it. Neil liked this one. Okay, so I think he thinks he's being really cryptic. I think he thinks that he's being really clever. But the crow symbolism, I did some research on it. It's very complex. It does vary widely. It's different across different cultures, but it often represents a duality of death and rebirth, as well as intelligence, mystery, and transformation. So keep in mind the Celeste shirt, Celestial Divine, which is what he's wearing. And then we have this cryptic post on her birthday with this, I chased a crow looking at trees caption. So crows are seen as divine messengers in some traditions, while other views them negatively as omens of misfortune or demise. And their intelligence and ability to adapt also connect them to themes of strategy and cleverness. So look at that caption. In my opinion, there's no remorse from David. This is posted on Celeste's birthday. Here's the other one. Posts these 2 pictures with the same caption, chased with the music, chased a crow looking at the trees. And it's liked by Neo the Asian. So why hasn't the LAPD arrested anybody yet? Legal expert Chad D. Cummings spoke out to the Mirror and on this case and suggested that a possible reason why police haven't made any arrests. We're going to talk about David's proclivities next. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to look at Coachella photos of Neo. And is Celeste there too? We're going to look. So the legal expert Chad D. Cummings has spoken out to the Mirror and suggested a possible reason for why police are yet to make any arrests. He said that police, quote, now have a multi-angle surveillance footage, but they're playing the long game. The footage seized from the Hollywood Hills mansion is likely time-stamped and motion activated and stored off-site. So now this legal expert suggested that investigators will be using the footage to, quote, map every exit and entrance to the mansion. But I'm wondering, are they looking at the right property? Because this, I showed you guys the images of David and Celeste at this other house on Doheny. So he also pointed out the lack of answers that left David exposed to media attention by simply not being named as a suspect. He said he doesn't have any protection. David claims he's cooperating, but the LAPD declined to confirm this. So I thought that was interesting too. But he's surrounded by sealed evidence. He's at risk, and Celeste was found in his car. And I would like to point out that David's cooperating only came from David's PR camp. And I told you guys during the last live stream, I thought there was a big PR machine amplifying the, negative messages about Celeste and her family, and trying to spread misinformation. Celeste had phony IDs. I'm not saying she did or she didn't, but if she did, she didn't get them for herself. A 13 or 14-year-old wouldn't be able to phony up IDs good enough to get into a door anywhere, if that's even true. We got the ringer girl that kind of looks like Celeste that said she would never dated David. She said she didn't want anything to do with this. So now let's look at the Coachella photos of David, of Neo. Let me move myself down here. Okay. So we've got this photo, and you can see this. I found this on Reddit too, so I don't want to take credit for this, but you can see in the reflection, because somebody took this picture. This I do not believe is Celeste. This is someone else. But this is definitely Neo with the 3D goggles, and then circled. You can see in the reflection there is one or maybe two people there. So was David just caught twice in the panels of the fireplace, or is it David and Celeste there taking the photo? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Is that David and Celeste together, or is that just David just caught twice in the panels of the glass fire screen that would probably open, something like a accordion type? Okay, so Steve Fisher said that David, they or whoever he saw in the car had a very distinctive shirt. So David wears a lot of distinctive shirts. So I don't know, but this one is also going around on social media of David. And then this one is also going around as a very distinctive shirt. It's red. It's got the number 22 of Neo. So, hopefully it sounds like this is what I think. It sounds like the owner of the mansion is not letting Steve Fisher talk, and say who the driver of the car was. And they said they're going to give the LAPD some more time. I don't know how much more time, but it sounds like if they, at some point, if the LAPD doesn't start, moving forward, then I think that they are going to reveal who was driving the Tesla. So that's Neo's. That's just a distinctive shirt. Doesn't mean he did anything. And this is David on the tour, July 30th. So there it is. I had people telling me, no, the tour started. And I understand the dates of the tour didn't start until August the 4th, but he was there. He was there. So let's back this up for a second. I think this is really disturbing of him just being there in this Hello Kitty. Okay, so I want to talk about David's proclivities, right? About PDF files and gore. So watch your words here. A lot of people get their comments caught in the comment section, and it's because they use words that's not allowed on YouTube. And then, so please, you can use PDF file. You can, find another way to say it. You can use red rum, do away with, just to find some other ways to say whatever you need to say. And then SA. But anyway, men with SSD can become very, I was trying to find out, excited about the psychological or physical suffering of another person. Remember what Steve said? He said that he found that farm equipment. And that's when I tried to look it up, I got offered a mental health hotline from Google. That's like because I was like trying different ways to try to figure out what it is that he, is just like a wood chipper. Like what did he find in the garage? But I think that David was actively probably trying to lure multiple girls away from their families, potentially. I did show you guys another screenshot of another female that did come forward. And I don't blame anybody that doesn't want to come forward, because in this society, in our society, we don't believe girls. We don't believe women when they try to come forward and blow the whistle. They're immediately told that they're clout chasers. They're just doing it because he's famous. So why would anybody want to put themselves through that? But I do think that he was initially interested in 10 or 11-year-old Celeste. And, the more she began to mature and grow into a 13 or 14-year-old, I believe he became less interested, in my opinion. I believe that as she matured, as her body matured, he became less interested in Celeste, allegedly, in my opinion. So, according to SF Investigates, Steve Fisher, the private investigator hired by the owner of the mansion, the last known photo of Celeste was taken January 2nd of 2025. So now we looked at the house, and if you guys didn't see that, let me just show you that really quickly. So we looked at the house on Doheny, and you can see here I just want to show you the proof that, let me move myself down out of the way. This is the house that's in this listing on Doheny that went back on the market March 7th of 2025. And this is, you can look at the windows with the shades, look at the tile, look at the stove, and then here's David and Celeste. You can see the window with the shades, look at the tile, look at the hood and the hood and the stove. That is the same kitchen. That is the same kitchen. And this photo is, if you look at this bathroom picture, okay, look at the bathroom picture. Now look at this photo of David and Celeste together, and look at the picture. 3 different pictures with an ocean in the background. That is the other house, the second crime scene on Doheny. Okay, I don't know if it's a second crime scene, but for sure Celeste was at that house with David. I mean, that's undeniable. We have pictures of them at the house. That's them. That's the same painting in the bathroom. So 2 images of them on the house, and that house was put back on the market on March the 7th, 2025, after being off the market since 2022. So is this where Celeste was staying? So I think the idea that Celeste could just simply go back home to her parents and be returned to her parents as David's career is starting to skyrocket and he's really becoming famous and things are really, really taking off for David. Do you think, yes or no, do you think David could simply let Celeste go back home after being gone for a long period of time from her family? Could he just simply let her go at that point, being that his career was suddenly skyrocketing? He's going not just on a national tour, but an international tour. He was supposed to go to Europe and Australia, right? So I do think that Steve Fisher is right. He talked about things becoming, quote, sadistic. And I think we just need to prepare ourselves for the potential that David did talk about all of these awful things, right? This man was traveling around the country with a casket of like a teenage size casket, not an adult size, but a smaller one. And also selling shirts with red paint on it. I mean, that's what he was into. He's repeatedly said he was into gore. And I'll let you guys Google that because Google already probably thinks, I got offered a self-help line last night. Google already thinks I need help from some of my searches that I've been doing on this case. But I do think that the idea that David could just simply return her back to her parents, I don't think it was feasible, in my opinion. Not only was he a rising pop star, but he now had millions of dollars and a reputation to protect. And so again, I just don't think he could let her return back to her family. And I think that around this time, Celeste had, it seems like, in the past, maybe gone home for the holidays or maybe gone home for her birthday. Maybe she wanted to go home to visit her family after the holidays. But I don't think David could allow this to happen this time. And I think that as she was getting older and becoming more independent and getting more of a sense of herself, she would have been harder to handle than when she was younger. And I also think that his hatred for women, in my opinion, allegedly, would have intensified as she began to look more like a 13 and 14-year-old versus a little girl. So I think that Celeste may have gotten to some point where she didn't want to be with somebody. She didn't want to be with David. Because what happens in these types of relationships is initially the predator is really kind, right? And then ultimately it turns into something really, really dark. And we have seen with our own eyes how dark David was, right? How dark his proclivities were, how dark his fantasies were. I mean, this is a man who thought this was okay to sell. And remember, his audience are kids. Remember who's in the trunk of his Tesla while he puts these on sale. This is what he thinks is okay. So, and his lyrics of his songs are also really, really disturbing. So based on internet circulation and the resurfaced online posts, I think David's past interest in gore, and you can look that up yourself, and the videos, has been interpreted in different ways by the public, especially in light of the highly publicized and developing criminal investigation. So online communities, a lot of people on Reddit and on Facebook have begun to look at David's interest, in gore in a very different lens. So, Steve Fisher used the S word, and some internet users have interpreted some of his former online posts where he discussed really liking those type of videos, right? That he was just intentionally desensitizing himself to gory imagery, as and this speculation was fueled by the dark imagery that he presented in his music, in his lyrics, and in his music videos, particularly in the 2022 song Romantic Homicide. So, as an indication of something, even more dark and sinister, in my opinion, some point to the prevalence of the themes, I think that he was always told us who he was. He always told us who he was. And if he had been writing this, like Ryan Beard said about, an animal and some of the posts, and, I think there would have been a big outcry. But for some reason, if we do this for women and girls, it's okay. And I think we just, need to start calling this out, because I do think there were a lot of red flags with David. And I just wondering why his manager, Josh Marshall, thought it was fine. You know what? I do want to represent this guy and his music. And we think this is a great idea. We think that this is a great idea. We're going to take the alter ego Itami, and David's going to hand make shirts, and we're going to sell them and make money, make a profit off of them. So was this just a form of artistic expression on David's part? In the Resurfaced 2022 interview, David does describe Romantic Homicide as being inspired by a manga he created about a detective who had an alter ego, who was, schmurderous, named Itami. Now, Itami is Japanese for pain. And so this is the depiction whenever you see David with a blindfold on, like you do in this picture, that's supposed to be his alter ego, Itami. And so, was this okay? So I do think that this phase of this attempt by David to desensitize himself, some people have pointed on, out to his own alleged online statements where, he was blatantly saying he wanted to desensitize himself to that. So with the ongoing investigation and the speculation about David's alleged interest in this type of material, I think it did become significant that Celeste was found in his trunk, wrapped in plastic, maybe similar to the tarps where he's painting the shirts that I showed you during the last live stream, and that red paint that David loves to paint because he loves gore. And this crow imagery, to me, I chased a crow, on Celeste's birthday, which is why I think it's so significant on what would have been her birthday. And he's talking about a crow. And I'm sure he thought at the time he was really smart and cryptic. But in retrospect, I think it's going to just be another piece in what's going to be a circumstantial case. And I feel so sad for her family. I really do. She seems like she was, a sweet girl. She deserved a lot better. So David, we're going to go through David's touring dates in just a second. I do want to check in with chat though, because I did a poll. I did a poll. I'm looking for ones and twos. So it was, but yeah. The farm equipment could be a pitchfork or it could be anything. That's why I was looking it up. And then I was like looking up, knowing what, what they needed to do, right? Which is get rid of Celeste, who was in the trunk, allegedly. I'm a bit confused about it too, Cabling. I hope law enforcement says something too, Michael. Nicole said, that's why I wanted to know. I heard she had 3 fake IDs. Well, I think this is his PR machine, in my opinion. Just pushing out all of this information about her having fake IDs. I think the idea is going to be to somehow absolve David of all of this, that, he didn't do anything wrong. It's okay. He's innocent. He didn't do anything. I think that's going to be the idea, right? But the problem is that, that Nancy Grace guest from the U.S. Sun, the journalist, said, the problem is he didn't report the Tesla missing. He never reported it stolen, and he never reported Celeste missing. So if he's going to say he just had her with him because he was going to mentor her or something like that, I don't think a jury is going to really buy that. So anyway, I do think he's got his, he hired really fancy attorney, and he's being quiet. He's listening. Echoed Story says you have to be careful what you look up on Google because they will put you on the. I probably am on there. I mean, if they look at me, they're going to be like, "Oh, well, she has a YouTube channel." I hope, but it is, a problem. Ambien says yes, they could have seen her name that she was using fake IDs. Does anyone know what his Hello Kitty shirt is saying? It has the one I just showed you. I just told you guys what it says. So this shirt, we don't know if he ordered this shirt and had it made for himself. This shirt. But a Reddit user said that it says Divine Celestial. And remember, he talks about her as his Hello Kitty girl. And remember, in her missing poster, it does say, she was wearing Hello Kitty shoes. And this is the picture that he took with Neo, wearing that shirt that says Divine Celestial. So shout out to the Reddit user who posted that. So David was going on tour, and I just want to be really clear about Neo. I've seen a lot of people, concerned about Neo. Even if we do find out who drove the car, it doesn't mean that the person who drove the car knew or didn't know that she was in the trunk. It doesn't mean they knew or didn't know, which is why I was recommending for Neo that I would just, go clear this up like right away. If he's the driver of the car, I don't know. We could find out it's somebody completely else and that it has nothing to do with Neo. Neo did, to be fair to Neo, weeks ago, but at the same time as David and Neo both scrubbed their social media accounts around the same time. So Nicole says, my boys wear each other's clothes as well as their friends to wear each other's clothes. So yeah, it's possible. So Adele's like, we don't know if he bought the shirt. The Reddit user couldn't find somebody selling that particular shirt. We don't know if he bought it, if he made it, if he found it. I don't know. Will Noah says, you see the weird photo he and Neo took with Neo standing behind him. Yeah, that's the one I'm showing right now. I think if we're talking about the same one, Will. Ray's Crowfray says, even if girls come out just because he's famous, it doesn't take away the crimes he did. Yes, thank you. But that's what happens when people try to come forward and somebody's famous, they always say, oh, they just want money. They're famous. That's like the go-to standard. And we're putting up purple hearts for Celeste. So if you're watching this, put purple hearts in your to your comment and your emojis. Let me just say, Nick Dog Philly says, I want to thank you, first of all, for the $10 super sticker. Thank you so much. That is very, very kind of you. And Nick Dog Philly says, I want to know if a crime home landlord ever hired a PI before. I don't know. I would think not. You're talking about the owner of the mansion. Is that what you're asking? I would think that the owner of the mansion probably would never have dreamed in his wildest dreams that something like this could happen in his mansion. So I think, Steve Fisher happened to be in that area investigating another case and then started looking into this one. And the owner probably thought, I have a huge investment of a $4 to $5 million mansion, and it's going to be really hard to rent this investment if it's found out that Celeste was done away in this house, right? If you think back about, the Chris Watts case, people still go to the Chris Watts house and film and photograph themselves in front of that house, right? If you think about the Amityville house that was used in that film, even though they used a set, people still go to that house and they take pictures and photographs of themselves in front of that house. They're not supposed to, but they do. And so this mansion is, going to be a lot harder to rent if people are coming by to take pictures of themselves and selfies or do a news report in front of this house, right? Thank you so much to NJAZ for the gifted channel membership. If you receive that, please make sure you say thank you to NJust. Thank you to Michael L. Cole for the $9 super sticker. That is so kind of you. Thank you so much. I'll be putting that toward you. And thank you, NJust, for gifting 5 Reporter Room memberships. Oh my gosh, if you got a Reporter Room membership, it came from NJust. So please make sure you say thank you to her. Thank you, NJust. That's really nice. And then we have, 20-pound super sticker from NJust. Thank you so much, NJust. That is really, really kind of you. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. And if you guys wouldn't mind giving this video a thumbs up, but also hyping it, it helps me with the algorithm. Once the you can't do it during the live stream, but once the live stream is over, you should be able to hype the video. CMNP says, oh yeah, the pink one, but I wonder about the camo shirt he was wearing on the post he posted on her birthday. There are Japanese signs on it. Oh, okay. So I don't know if I have that one handy. I don't think I have that one on. Oh, here we go. This one is the camo shirt. It says Hello Kitty on it. And I don't know what the Japanese symbols mean. I can't fully make out all of them. If anybody knows, let me know. Yeah, it probably does have some significance though. It probably does. It seems like everything he does has a lot of significance to it. Michael said, I bet the Tesla knows everywhere and what time that car has gone. Yeah, that Tesla should be able to tell the authorities everywhere that it's been and what time. Michael says he believes the victims. Katsier said, oh, I bet the netizens will figure it out soon. I hope so. The netizens have done a great job on this case. Tanya says, I heard on, thank you for modding today, Tanya. Tanya said, I heard on a different site that he paid Neil some money the day the Tesla was moved, and he noted it as cleaning money. Is Neil his brother, Tanya? Thank you for modding today, Michael. Michael says, D4VD and Neo seem happy. And Jazz, thank you so much. Yeah, please give this a thumbs up. If you're watching on replay, please hype it. It helps me overcome the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe. Again, it helps me with the algorithm. And it's hard in true crime to overcome the algorithm. So Tanya says, please like, share, and subscribe. It's free. It's all free, and it helps me so much. I speak my truth says, I mean, yes, why not? Godot, Go D4U says the message is one of those photos that was posted whenever he is called the queen. Namna says, I wonder if I could find their accounts on Venmo or Cash App. I'm not sure who theirs are. Echo said, no, she knew too much. Yeah, I think so too. CMNP said, is it true that Neo is in Japan right now? I don't know where he is right now. But I do want to say this. Please don't send any negativity to anybody. Nobody's been charged with anything. And Neo could just be, a patsy. You know what I mean? Like, he could have been sent out in the car, or it could have been somebody else, another member of David's entourage, sent out in that car to kind of set them up, right? So I just want to, be clear about that. Cabling said, thank you for modding today. She says, no, he couldn't just let her go, but I think he figured out her age and mentality. Yeah, I think so too. Tanya, thank you for modding. She says, yes, he's Japanese. Namna said, why was Neo staying at the other apartment? I don't have any pictures of him at the other apartment. Do you have a source for that? Num, if you do, email me at Jessica, 4, tips for Jessica. So any true crime tips, 4, Jessica at outlook.com. You can see it here. Let me just switch this out really quick. Here's my email, tips4jessica@outlook.com. If you want to email me any tips, if you have pictures of Neo at that house, I would love to see them. So please consider submitting those to me. Let me see what other comments we have. We have getting some really good comments today. Shelley agrees with you, Juanita. Namna said, I think if he let her go freely, she would talk. Yeah, she told her friends at school. It's probably why he made her leave school. Yeah, because she did. She told her teacher, right? We know from the teacher that she was talking. Nick Dog Philly says, then why did she keep running away from home? I believe, this is just my opinion, I believe that she was being enticed to leave the house. I believe that, she had normal teenage angst, in my opinion. I'm not saying her parents were perfect. There's no perfect victim out there, but they are victims. And that, they had filed reports with police. I don't, like they had tried everything to try to get her back. And this time they didn't get her back. Hey, Aurora. Thanks for modding today, Tanya. All they need to do is pull cameras in that area. Yeah, you're right. Justice, welcome. It's good to see you. Thanks for joining me in the top chat. Bonnie says, I was thinking maybe they got into an argument because Celeste wouldn't go with him. And maybe, yeah, I don't know. I think he's going to probably try to say, I don't know, this dog is going to hunt. I think he was going to try to say he was mentoring her, that he was helping, something along those lines to explain why he's with this missing runaway. I don't think the jury's going to buy it, but I think there'll be some type of explanation. But it's going to be really hard to claim that when he didn't report her missing. Because if you really, and didn't even, when she was found in the trunk of his Tesla, didn't even stop touring, didn't even put out a statement through his lawyer to say one kind word, or he's so sorry, that he hopes police get to the bottom of it. Echoed Story says, in my opinion, something happened to Celeste after she outed David on that live stream about, graping, the essaying. I think David's not cooperating. This is our head mod, Njaz, and our other head mod, Brother Mike. And thank you so much to all of our mods. PC and digital records, yeah. Dandy Lioness says, didn't she make the Epstein Yeah, well, that was being made by other people in the chat. Other people in the chat started talking about that. And I showed that in another live stream. If you want to go through my playlist, I'm like taking this case apart piece by piece. Bonnie said exactly, she would tell him and he couldn't allow it. Yep, I agree with you, Bonnie. Kat Sear agrees with you, Echo. Justice for Noog says, in my opinion, the manager's statements are odd. In my opinion, he had access to everything, knowing people would think David. I don't know like what he thought, but I do know that the manager was perfectly happy to represent this guy and didn't see any problem with representing this and all of his depictions and videos and his misogynistic posts that were just, horrible. And, he seemed perfectly happy to get his money, even though he told us he has a 14-year-old daughter. It's like, really? Rianne says, no, he's scared that if Celeste comes back to her house, she would talk about what happened to her. And so he thought he's been told that Celeste was in trouble. Yeah, I think he was worried too. She literally outed David. Yep, she did out him. So the LAPD were lying when they said David was cooperating. They never said that. David's camp, David's PR machine said he was cooperating. The LAPD captain was asked if David was cooperating, and his response was he declined to answer the question. So sometimes what someone doesn't say is just as interesting as what someone does say. And the LAPD never said anything that, oh, David's cooperating. Yeah. And Mike's just reminding mods, please don't time out or delete any messages. That he and Njaz will take care of that. Just greet people, say hello, and he will do that. We don't all have to agree. CMNP says, I don't think there's a motive. He was just twisted. Yeah, I think he was too. And he does have two seems like good upstanding parents. Hey, Purple Angel, glad you're here today. Njaz says, LAPD owes us nothing, no explanation or updates. And Michael said, please word comment so the algorithm doesn't filter you out. Yeah, I can't tell you how many comments I didn't get to respond to because they were stuck, in the YouTube filter because people were using, words that I can't say on the air, but you guys can't use them in the comment section either. So please find another way to say it. Kay Bling says, everyone, please like and share and subscribe. Thank you so much, Kay Bling. Litam, I think is the name, says Celeste might have figured out that David and Nia were together. I don't know. She might have gotten hurt and mad and says she's going to expose him for taking advantage of her. And Neo, I don't know. I have no idea. For all I know about Neo, I don't even know if they were together. I have no idea. All I know about Neo is that he was David's friend and his personal assistant. So I'm urging caution when it comes to Neo. Jen says, who would want those shirts? Well, people did want them. People did want them. And Dubstep says, I think, in my opinion, David could be. I have no idea. I really don't know. But of all the problems with David, I think that's probably the lowest one on my priority list, right? Is whatever my concern about his proclivities aren't that. My concern for that is his interest in gore and how much he appeared to really hate girls. How much he really appeared to hate girls. That's my red flags for this guy, in my opinion, allegedly. Shelley says Law is collecting, interviewing, and following, waiting for they're waiting for the talk screen to come back. Adele said, whoever parked the car maybe hopped on your bus after. Yeah, so this is what happened, according to Steve Fisher. The car was parked on Bluebird around a little after 11 a.m. On the 29th of July. And then they, I don't know who they is, hopped on a bus for the tour. And then if you look at this photo right here, this is David. People were telling me that he didn't have a tour, any type of tour date. You can clearly see that is dated July 30th. He does have some type of performance. I don't know if it was like it wasn't an official tour date because his official tour began on August the 5th, but if some type of performance on the 30th, it may have been just like a dress rehearsal that people were allowed to come to, or something like that, where they, or tech rehearsal, something like that, where they were just getting ready. But he does have something on that date. And that's what Steve Fisher was referencing there. Let's see what else you guys have to say. And I want to just tell you, so his tour dates were August 5th, he was performing in Del Mar. August 6th, he was going to Phoenix. August 8th, he performed in Dallas. August 9th, he was in Austin, Texas. Then there's a 3-day gap. The 10th, 11th, and then the 12th, he performs in St. Pete, Florida. The 13th, he performs in Orlando, Florida. And then we have a 2-day break. The 15th, he performs in Atlanta, Georgia. 16th in Nashville, Tennessee. 17th, Charlotte, North Carolina. And remember, he wouldn't be able to go international with Celeste, right? So, that's why I do, they said she was in the trunk for weeks. I think he couldn't just leave her at home alone while he goes on tour. And so he's touring all the way up through mid-September, when finally, they pulled the plug and they canceled his merchandise and they pulled the plug on his tour. So there was no empathy or any kind of sense of anything. In fact, one day before she's found in the trunk of his car, he's talking about crows. I'm sure he thought this is on her birthday, chased a crow looking at trees. So did he have empathy and care? I don't think so. Allegedly, in my opinion. Dandelion says she's got that same sadness in her eyes that Maddie Soto exhibited. She does. I just wonder what the last couple of months of her life were really like. I wonder what the last couple of months of her life really were like. I'm worried. So I'm preparing myself for the worst. Atlanta Foodie Review said the crow is a reoccurring sound in a story that marks his ego, and some interpretations represents a hollow victory or a fear of his own emptiness. Peter Pan. Thank you for sharing that. Bailey said Neo is playing with a shovel at a party in his stories, but it's not new. I mean, he could have just been fooling around. I know like everything looks horrible in retrospect, but I do want to urge some caution with Neo. He could just have, he wanted to be a personal assistant. He was just trying to work his job. He has to like his employer's posts. I'm sure that was part of his job. But the scrubbing his social media, after all of this came down. That to me is a little bit suspicious. If you think that's suspicious, put an A in the chat. If you think it's not suspicious, put a B in the chat. I do think it's suspicious that he and David, right around the same time, both scrub all of their social media. But I don't know why Neo would have done that. Maybe he just didn't want to have his name attached to anything associated with David. It could have just been an innocent thing. Brienne said they're trying to paint Celeste as a bad. Yeah, I know, right? Like somehow this is her fault. You're right. And her family too. They've been trying to throw her under the bus and them under the bus. Well, they haven't done enough. I'm like, I don't know what else you want them to do. They reported her missing to the police. They put up missing posters. Well, they didn't post enough on Facebook. I mean, but they still did do some posts on Facebook, right? Yeah. Oh, but it wasn't enough. It's that his PR machine going into overtime. Again, blaming her family. And I had people say, why aren't you looking into the family? I said, because she wasn't found in the trunk of their car. If she was found in the trunk of her mother's or father's car, I would be looking at the family, but she wasn't. She was found in the trunk of the front trunk of David's Tesla. Adele said, I simply could not understand what. Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's because we have so many moving pieces. That's what I really think is going on here. I think we don't have an arrest because we have an entourage potentially of people, not just Neo, but other people that are in the entourage, other family members, friends, whatever that, were hanging around with David at the house. They have to rule them in or rule them out as suspects. So there's a lot of people to go through. And then I think they're also waiting for that toxicology. Echo says Neil left a message on his Instagram saying he was going into isolation, and when the time is right, he would tell what he knew. I hope he does. Because I just feel like he's kind of, I'm sure that he was probably told by his boss to, I don't know this. I shouldn't say I know for sure. I don't know why he deleted his social media. Law enforcement can get it all. So I don't know what that was about. If his boss called him up, David's his boss. He worked for David and told him to delete it. That's why I'm urging caution with Neo. He just might have been a guy who wanted to keep his job, right? Rian says, I almost think that David was wearing some of Celeste Hello Kitty stuff. I don't know. Adele says the fact that no one knows where he is since this awful sad news Burke says a lot. It does. Thank you for your purple hearts for Celeste. Frank says, did Neil, I don't know. I would be like really careful. I don't want to like point the finger at anybody. Until we find out like who was driving the car, and then did they know? And they may have already pulled that person in for an interview too. Thank you for your purple heart for Celeste. Lulu said, I think one hand washed the harder hand. Could be. Thank you for your purple heart for Celeste. Nick Dog says, I believe LAPD when they said David was cooperating and the charge could be. I think that's the very least of the problems that he has. That's like the bare minimum, but I think there's more than that. And I went through all of that on another live stream where I talk about all of the different charges for harboring a missing minor that you do not have custody from. That is not legal. It was not legal for him to have her in the house. So thank you for your purple heart, Stub. Adele said, did he even have a song called Celeste? He had a song that was titled, a working title of Celeste that was leaked, but it was never put out there. The lyrics were leaked. Cabling said it's just a little bit suspicious that anyone that moved that vehicle would not have known. Yeah, I mean, you would think the smell, right? Which is why I wanted to show you that air freshener. You would think that would be a big clue. I agree with you, Cabling. And thank you for modding today. Andrea says, rest in peace, Celeste. Thank you for modding today, Tanya. It's either David, Neo, maybe Brian. I don't know. And Michael says, yes, he did have a Celeste song. Yes, he did. Hey, Frank. All right, let me, I do want to do some thank yous. I want to say thank you to our producers, Jazz, Sasha Angel, George Brown, Michael L. Cole, and Christy Ballantyne. Thank you so much for your awesome support. And thank you to our channel members so much. If you want your name to appear like this, channel membership does cost a couple of dollars, but becoming a subscriber is completely free and it helps me out a lot. So please consider subscribing. My analytics show me that half of the people that are watching haven't subscribed yet. So please consider subscribing. It's free and it helps me out a lot. If you're watching on the replay, please consider hyping the video. Again, it's free. It helps me out a lot. And give this video a thumbs up. This all lets the algorithm know that I'm doing a good job, that I'm bringing you credibly sourced information. It just lets YouTube know I'm doing a good job. And that's all free. And channel memberships are a few dollars. So if you would like to do that, you can. And I just want to do a special shout out for coffee thanks and a super thanks gratitude to Michael Cole and Green Eye Sparkle and gifted channel memberships and Jazz and Jazz. Thank you so much, you guys. That was for last week, not from today, obviously. Okay, let's do a couple more comments and questions. If you are coming late, go ahead and back the chat up. You will want to know. Debbie says, the video captured by a Nest camera on September 8th shows Celeste arguing. So this is in 2024 with people who reportedly, yeah, we did see how angry she got. Yeah, that's right. So it looks like she went home for her birthday that year, doesn't it? So I'm wondering, if that was a problem this year. A124 says, it is, but someone put it there, not on his name. And Tanya says, ooh, David was giving her what she wanted. And up next, I'm doing updates in the Jack and Lily Sullivan case. These are two missing little ones out of Nova Scotia, Canada, that we have some updates on that. We're going to go through that. It looks like the RCMP took two eyewitnesses and threw them under the bus. So we're going to talk about that. What's really going on here? And Cat Seer, that's 2024. I mean, I think every little bit helps. So I think all of it helps. Debbie said, so there's no way Celeste was in the Tesla in July or August of 2024. My understanding from Steve Fisher at SF Investigates is that he has the last known image that he has personally. I think he's turned them all over to LAPD, but that he has personally seen is Celeste in January of 2025. So she was still alive in January 2025, which is why I thought that this date of this house, which I proved to you that they were at, if you don't know what I'm talking about, back it up. The fact that this house was off the market July of 2022, but put back on the market on March 7th of 2025. And this is where Celeste was with David. I think that date is significant. That is the bathroom of the house. You can see there's the three photos, same bathroom, three photos, 1, 2, 3 with the ocean, same bathroom. And then the kitchen. You can see them here. Let me move myself down. You can see the kitchen. If you look at the tile on the backsplash behind David's hair, and you look at the stove, and then you look at the shades, the roll shades that are pulled down behind Celeste and David. Okay, and this is the mansion. The other house on Doheny. You can see the shades over the sink, pulled down, those same rolled shades, and look at the tile. It's the same tile, same hood, same stainless steel appliances. So that is where they were. And that's why I think this March, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just back the video up. You can back it up. And that's why I think this March 7th date of 2025 is so significant, you guys. I do think it's significant. Veronica says, you can probably find the song Celeste on YouTube. Yeah, I think you probably can. I can't play his music because I don't have the copyright. But it is what it is. So please take a second and hit the like button. Thank you. More to Life says, her mother doesn't speak English and a kind boy outdid an aunt's kindness to her. Yeah, and Reddit seems to have a lot of info. Yeah, there are some really good sites on Reddit. There's one that's devoted completely to Celeste Rivas Hernandez. And then there's other ones for D4VD. They're very, very good. Kaloa says, please do longer lives. This 1 hour live is too short. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Let me know in the comment section if you would like me to do a reaction to Nancy Grace's video that she did last night. Let me know. And I'm going to head over right now. If you want to follow me over, I'm going to be covering the Jack and Lily Sullivan case next. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming by to spend a little bit of time with me, please consider subscribing. It's free. It helps me out. And I will be back with another live stream in a couple of days, but I might be back sooner. If there's breaking news, obviously I'll be back, in an hour. So this case is crazy. This case is really, really crazy, but I'm digging deep into all of it. I do read your comments, so please make sure that you leave me a comment that I get to read by watching what words you use in it. Essay, you think about what words, think of a different way to say it so you don't get stuck in the filter, and then I don't get to read your comment and respond to it. If I don't respond to you, it's because your comment didn't ever appear to me. You could see it, but no one else could. All right, guys, thank you so much for spending time with me today, and I will see you in a couple of days, and I'm headed over right now to do Lily and Jack Sullivan. See you next